Hi. I'm going to talk today about a game theoretical puzzle that I learned about a few years ago when I studied philosophy. It's called the Centipede, and the reason why it's called the Centipede is because you usually use a diagram that looks something like this. A blank paper, no. Something like that. And I'll explain it in just a second. I don't want you to see my messy couch. Can I make that go away? Okay. The Centipede is about two players playing a game. And the two players, according to game theory, they are rational players, and that means, I think, that they make the correct calculations. They have, in this example anyway, they have all the information about the game and about the other player, so they know exactly what we know about this situation. And they also just make what is best for them. They make the choices that are best for them. And, well, the game then that they're playing, it's such that they alternate turn for every move, and the only move that they have to make consists of a choice of two options, and the two options are either to have the game end or to have the game continue. So it's a pretty simple game. We call the move of having the game continue the forward choice, and the move of having the game end the downward choice. And that's because if you look at the diagram again, you can see that, for example, if you look at A1, you can see that A can either make the downward choice or the forward choice. If she makes the downward choice, the game ends, and there are payouts distributed to both of the players. See, $10 here to A and 0 to B if A makes a downward choice there and ends the game. So what's important about this game, or about this puzzle, is the way the payouts are distributed or arranged over the course of the game, because well, they are the payouts, the values are distributed such that if it's A's turn, the game is symmetrical, so both A and B faces the same decision situations. But let's just assume that it is A's turn to make a move, and if she concludes that B will end the game in the subsequent move, then it is beneficial for A to end the game before that. Okay, so on the other hand, if A concludes that B will not end the game in the subsequent move, then it is beneficial for A to have the game continue. No matter what happens further down the game, no matter who ends the game after that point, after the point where B lets the game continue, the payouts will be greater for A rather than if she has the game end right there. So to illustrate what I just said, look at this picture again. What I was talking about was, if you look at this situation, that's a bit too dark, right? If you look at this situation, if A concludes that B will not end the game here, then the payouts will be greater for A no matter what happens down the line. Here it will be greater for A, and here it will be greater for A, as long as B doesn't end the game right here. And the same goes for B. Okay, this example I've limited to 4 steps, because that's the minimum you have to have in order to make this scenario interesting. But you can imagine this having thousands of steps in the pot, increasing to enormous amounts of money to make it more dramatic. This captures the essence, I believe. So let's look at how this game will develop for these two rational players, because if you look at the pots, the values of the payout, this is the biggest pot, you know, a pot of 20 plus $40, and the average payout for each player is the highest. So if you ask me, this is the most desirable way for this game to end. I don't know if you agree, but I think it's pretty obvious somehow that, you know, it would be the most desirable outcome, all things considered. But will these two rational players reach this point? No, they won't, and this is why. B2, in this situation, B2, where B has to make the downward move and end the game, well, that situation will not arise, because if you look at the previous situation, A2 is considering her options and having the game continue. Well, she knows what we know, which is that the game will end here, and that's going to render her $20. And she's looking at this situation where she sees that if she makes a downward choice here, she's going to get $30. So now we can see that A will end the game right here if it reaches that point. But before the game reaches this point, it has to have passed that point. And here B looks at the options, and B, just as we know that A will end the game right there, B is comparing the outcomes for her, which is $20 if she ends the game right here, and $10 if she lets A end the game in the subsequent move. So as we can see, B will end the game right here. So if the game reaches this point, this is where it's going to end. Does it reach that point? No, because at the first decision situation, A is comparing this situation where B will end the game right here, which is going to happen if she has the game continue. We just realized that. So A is comparing this outcome, which is 0 for A, with this outcome, which is $10 for A. So 10 is more than 0, thus the game will end right here. So these two rational agents will never make it past the first step of the game, even though we can clearly see that it's beneficial for them to have the game continue for a few steps at least. But that's never going to happen, and that's the problematic aspect of this. I don't know what the conclusions are, if it's, you know, if game theorists consider this to be like an argument against game theory or whatever it is. I don't know, but it's kind of interesting. I think that two rational agents who have all the information will settle for much lesser payouts than what is possible. And there are, you know, many parallels you can draw with reality, where people, to some extent anyway, acts as rational agents and will settle for much lesser payout because they fail to work together and maximizing their profits. I think that's it. Right. Thank you and good night.